the Maricopa audit, every day there's a development for the same reason, that it is the single animating event for the Stop the Steal movement, which is not an Arizona movement. It is a national movement. Talk about how ignoring it, McConnell and McCarthy are putting in motion the pre-insurrection dynamics.
For sure, Nicole, and thanks. And I'm glad that you're talking about it on this show. It's important that we are talking about and looking at what is happening in Arizona. It's easy to look at this and say, oh, this is crazy, right? And a lot of times when we're reporting on it, it's in that context, right? Can you believe that they're saying that bamboo shards from China were in the ballots, and oh, how ridiculous that this is. And look at serious Republican Senate candidates like Eric Greitens going down there to participate, and isn't that dangerous? And that's all true, but I wanted to just look forward a couple of weeks, because by the end of this month, they say they're going to come up with a result. And what we presume is that result will either say Donald Trump won, or say that they've uncovered some, things that make you think that Donald Trump might have won. And when you look forward to that, I think Philip Bump at the Washington Post really crystallized this in a follow-up piece to the article you just read. And he wrote that two factors came into play in January 6th that led to violence: delusions about the election and a place and time for that to manifest. That is what is going to happen when these results come out in Arizona. And what we're seeing from McConnell, from McCarthy, from the RNC, from all of the Republicans in Washington is an exact replay of what they did before January 6th. Put their head in the sand, hope that this crystallizing event does not become violent, and that they can just move on to the next thing. They can just move on to their next voter suppression bill in one of these states. They can just move on to blocking Joe Biden and the things that they actually care about. It seems to me like they haven't really learned anything, and that we're on the cusp here of a potentially dangerous situation, and that it's incumbent on us, in the commentariat, and Democrats and their political opponents to force them to address this, to force them to deal with this before the Arizona audit results are revealed, rather than putting us in a situation where we might have a redux of what we saw a few months ago.
Donna, that's why we started with Attorney General Shapiro. I mean, he has seen what is happening in Arizona, and I think he sees it the way you see it, Tim Miller. And he has said, no way, not if I have anything to do with it. How urgent is it to stop these actual physical manifestations of the big lie so that they don't become pilgrimage sites and potential they're not actual events because they're based on a lie, but they're things that happen in rooms with people and ballots? How urgent do you see it, sort of in both the political context and the extremism context, of preventing another Maricopa from happening?
Well, it's extremely urgent. I mean, part of the reason is because no matter what the so-called audit concludes in Arizona, that conclusion is going to be the confusion that Tim has described, and it is going to become an animating factor, and Donald Trump is going to layer on that. And so unless there are some Republicans out there, I don't even know who they would be anymore, who would say, this is ridiculous. It's not valid. The lie will continue because that is what animates that far-right fringe, and they're occupying an awful lot of space in the Republican Party. And so Democrats we can't just sort of turn our heads and then Democrats go, oh, it's time to move on, because those people aren't moving on.
Right. I mean, to that end, I'm difficult to surprise in terms of the political depravity of Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy at this point. That's for my own mental well-being. But I have to admit that after sending John Katko out to negotiate a bill for the bipartisan commission and getting everything that they wanted in it, I was surprised at how aggressively they fought to kill the commission. But now, Tim, in light of your analysis about how animating these ongoing sort of stop the steal disinformation events are, do you think that has as much to do with the Republican Party is as devoted to killing the bipartisan investigation into 1-6 as they are to anything?
Yeah, Nicole, and you have to look back at this. It wasn't even just the, quote unquote, more reasonable Republicans, the ones who supported impeachment, that were Commission. Initially, it was even your John Cornyn's and as you mentioned, the McConnells. They all changed tune on a dime. What was it that made them change the tune? It was what they were hearing from the bottom up from their supporters. They did not want the blowback. They know that a commission like this will have a drip, drip, drip of revelations, just like the ones that you were reporting on before this by Katie Benner, and about all of the complicity of the Trump administration in the insurrection and in the coup. And meanwhile, their own voters are still practicing the insurrection. They're still trying to make the insurrection happen in Arizona and with the supposed reinstatement in August and in these other states. So if they supported this investigation, they would be tacitly putting out information that opposed the main animating feature of what their base wants, what their base is looking for. And so that is why they flipped on this on a dime. It was in a response to that. And that is why, as you said, I totally agree, their top priority is blocking this. I mean, if anything, they'd be more likely to support the infrastructure or one of the other packages at this point.
Right. So, Donna, that leaves Speaker Pelosi, obviously, who is in control, and Leader Schumer with a decision to make about how to proceed. Let me read you Punchbowl News's sort of analysis of the choices before Speaker Pelosi. They report that House Democrats have several options here. They could amend the original commission bill put together by Thompson and Republican Congressman John Katko of New York, with changes sought by Susan Collins and other Senate Republican moderates, and send it back to the Senate for another vote. They could create a select committee. They could let the standing committees do their own investigation, or they could appoint one committee chair to take the lead, or a combination of any of these. Are you partial to any one of those options before Speaker Pelosi?
I'm not, but I also think that it's not one choice that she could make. She could make a couple of choices. She could both send a bill over to the Senate. I'm actually not convinced that even the amendments that Susan Collins wanted would necessarily bring along 10 more Republicans, but she could do that, and she could establish a select committee, or she can farm it out to a number of the different committees. I think that is a less appealing result, because then it basically shuts down business for a whole bunch of committees that need to be working on other things. So I support maybe a dual track, because I think it has to put Republicans on notice. You can either vote on the independent commission bill, or I'm going to run my own thing in the House of Representatives.
Nicole, can I just add on that really quick?
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Please,
just really quick,
please,
so I want to
please.
say the Susan Collins amendment to this is just trash. It would allow Kevin McCarthy to control the report itself and who is running and who the staff is on the report. And so not only is Donna right that it won't bring on the 10 people, it would substantively make the investigations worse by putting insurrectionists in the committee itself. So the Susan Collins amendment is just a non-starter. Those other options are much better.
I mean, I would just add, too, that giving Kevin McCarthy a greater role after he purged Liz Cheney for repeating the big lie would seem to be, the definition of insanity. Tim Miller, Donna Edwards, thank you both so